The anime begins in a world where kingdoms are built around a strict class system. A person's class determines their place in society. One of the rarest classes is the Heavy Knight, a defensive role that specializes in protecting allies by drawing enemy attacks. While incredibly durable, Heavy Knights have very poor offensive abilities, making it difficult for them to level up. Because of this, the class is widely considered defective and almost worthless. The story begins inside the mansion of a noble family, where we meet a young boy named Elamas. As he eagerly opens a book, he notices something strange. Every time he learns something new, it feels oddly familiar, as if he has already experienced it before. Suddenly, flashes of memories race through his mind. He sees himself battling countless monsters, crossing swords with an incredibly powerful swordmaster, fighting alongside a fearless spear warrior, and traveling with a cheerful jester. Several years pass, and Elamas prepares for the Divine Blessing Ceremony, a sacred ritual every noble heir must undergo to receive their class. His father reassures him that everything will be fine before the ceremony begins. The priest surrounds Elamas with a magical seal and casts the sacred spell known as Baptisma, granting him his destined class. As the ritual unfolds, Elamas is overwhelmed by an intense feeling of déjà vu. Then, everything comes back to him. In his previous life, he had been completely obsessed with an online virtual reality game called Magic World. To his amazement, the world he now lives in is identical to that game. Realizing he has been reincarnated, Elamas becomes excited. Since he already knows the game's mechanics, he believes this new life will be easy. He silently hopes to obtain his favorite class, the one considered the most overpowered in the entire game. When the ritual ends, he opens his status window. His wish came true. He has become a Heavy Knight. Thrilled by the result, he proudly tells his father. Instead of celebrating, his father is horrified. He asks whether Elamas made a mistake and actually meant Sword Master. Confused by everyone's reaction, Elamas suddenly realizes the terrible misunderstanding. Although the Heavy Knight was one of the strongest classes in the game, this world's people judge classes only by how quickly they grow. Fast-growing offensive classes are admired, while defensive classes with slow progression are considered complete failures. Since no one has ever fully explored every class's true potential, the Heavy Knight has earned a terrible reputation. Nervously, Elamas waits while his father personally checks his status. The moment he confirms it, his expression turns cold. He calls the Heavy Knight class miserable. Its basic stats appear mediocre, its attacks seem unimpressive, and every aspect of it is dismissed as defective. Elamas desperately tries to explain that the class possesses unmatched health and defensive power, making it stronger than people realize. His father refuses to listen. Filled with disgust, he strikes his own son. Everyone watching is shocked, though some quietly remark that at least this humiliation isn't happening in public. Just then, footsteps echo through the hall. A beautiful young woman with black hair, crimson eyes, and silver armor enters the room. The nobles quickly recognize her as Malice, the daughter of a branch family of the Edvon household and Elamas' childhood friend. Because of differences in status, they haven't spoken for years. She has arrived to receive her own divine blessing. As the ceremony begins, the room falls silent. Moments later, Malice checks her status. She has obtained the prestigious Sword Master class. The entire hall erupts in excitement. Malice apologizes to Elamas, saying she feels as though she stole the talent that should have belonged to him. Elamas' father had feared exactly this outcome. Yet instead of showing disappointment, he immediately praises Malice. He publicly announces that from this day forward she will become his daughter and the future heir of the family. To make matters even worse, Malice mocks Elamas, claiming he could never have carried the burden of leading such a prestigious household. Without hesitation, Elamas' father orders him to leave. He declares that a Heavy Knight is nothing more than a disgrace to the Edvon family. The gathered nobles immediately support the decision, praising the father's wisdom while abandoning Elamas completely. Even then, Elamas tries one last time to explain that the Heavy Knight can become the strongest class in existence. No one listens. His father orders him never to return and warns him that if he ever uses the family name again, he will be executed. With that, he walks away alongside Malice, who continues laughing at Elamas without the slightest hint of sympathy. Later that day, Elamas is officially expelled from the mansion. The family's butler quietly apologizes for being unable to help and secretly gives him a few coins so he can survive on his own. The scene then shifts to the bustling city of Rondon, a place famous for its countless adventures. Among the crowds is a well-known blonde adventurer named Teal. Nearby, a cheerful young jester enthusiastically talks about taking on new quests. Unfortunately, the other two members of her party, a red-haired swordsman and an albino companion, constantly belittle her, leaving her visibly discouraged. At the same time, Elamas arrives in Rondon. After renting a small room at an inn, he sits on his bed reflecting on everything he has lost. His home, his family, and the life he once knew are all gone because of his father's cruelty. Still, one thing remains. He still possesses the Heavy Knight class, the strongest class in the world, at least according to the game's hidden mechanics. Looking around, he notices something unexpected. Although this world resembles the game, its history, geography, and even its cities are noticeably different. Determined to understand these differences, he decides to investigate. His first step is checking his own status. To his relief, every statistic matches the game's original system perfectly. Next, he examines his skill tree. He explains that skill points determine a person's future. Every new class starts with 5 bonus points, and 1 additional point is earned with each level. There are 2 types of skills. Some are fixed and unique to each class while others are randomly assigned when a character is created. One available tree is Heavy Armor Oath, the Heavy Knight's only fixed skill tree. Most players considered it the weakest option because many of its abilities were highly situational. Another option, Defensive Reinforcement, passively increases defense but grants no active skills. The final option is Basic Swordsmanship, which can eventually evolve into Advanced Swordsmanship through special conditions. Without hesitation, Elamuz invests all 5 skill points into Heavy Armor Oath. The skill tree immediately levels up. His defense increases by 10 points and he unlocks a new ability, Wall Reflection. Seeing this, Elamuz smiles confidently. Everything is unfolding exactly as he remembered. Soon afterward, fully equipped, he heads toward the nearby forest to begin his new life as an adventurer. After walking through the peaceful woods, he eventually reaches a beautiful lake before continuing deeper into the forest. Suddenly, rustling bushes catch his attention. A giant frog leaps out. Elamuz immediately checks its status window. The monster attacks without hesitation. Instead of drawing his sword, Elamuz activates Wall Reflection. A massive defensive barrier appears, blocking the frog's attack and instantly defeating it with reflected damage. Just like that, Elamuz reaches level 2. He explains that Wall Reflection completely nullifies melee attacks while dealing damage equal to the user's defense stat. The defeated frog drops a level 2 magic stone. Although it isn't worth much, Elamuz stores it away. Moments later, someone desperately cries out for help. He rushes toward the voice and discovers an adventurer being chased by a massive swarm of frogs. Elamuz calmly announces that he'll handle them. The terrified adventurer can't believe what he's hearing. He assumes Elamuz must be some legendary warrior because of his confidence. Instead, Elamuz casually admits that he only reached level 2 today. The adventurer instantly loses hope. After all, why would anyone trust a complete beginner to defeat an entire horde of monsters? He begs Elamuz to run away before it's too late. Elamuz remains completely calm. He explains that Wall Reflection isn't an invincible skill. Its reflected damage only works if the user's defense is higher than the enemy's attack. Otherwise, the ability fails completely, leaving the user vulnerable. As the frogs charge together, Elamuz activates the skill once again. He also points out that Wall Reflection becomes extremely dangerous against unknown enemies or powerful opponents. However, because he remembers everything from the game, he already knows the exact stats of every monster in the area. Before entering the forest, he carefully equipped armor and selected skill bonuses that pushed his defense beyond the frog's attack. The result is overwhelming. Every frog crashes into his barrier and is instantly defeated. One after another, dozens of monsters fall without Elamuz swinging his sword even once. The stunned adventurer watches in disbelief. Shaking with amazement, he asks who Elamuz really is. Elamuz begins introducing himself but immediately stops before saying his family name. Remembering his father's warning, he just says that he is Elamuz, the Heavy Knight.